Hey you all, welcome to the channel. My name is Keisha and you are watching Size K Creations, and here on this platform I'm sharing my sewing journey with you all. So as you all know, I have been working my way through Simplicity 9857. Yeah, 9857. Had to go look at the envelope. And I am just about done. I am finishing up the cardigan. I'm looking at it now. I need to finish up the hem on the bottom. I need to finish up the sleeves, and I need to work on the buttons and the buttonhole. So I am going to try to get this finished tonight. I started not to come in this room because I have been a little tired today. Yeah, so I'm thinking that I am going to do the best that I can to get this finished tonight. So we'll see how that goes. Sorry if you hear little one in the background. She's on the phone with her friends, and this is what it's like in my house in the evenings. So you might hear her, you might see her, who knows. But anyway, while the oldest is already nesting and sleeping. So let me go and pull out the cardigan really quick and I'll show you guys what I've gotten done. I'm coming back. Give me 1 second, guys. I haven't gone far. 1 second. Just gonna put this on the hanger and show you all what it's looking like thus far. So this is the cardigan so far. I think it's coming together really well. Like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and put the buttons on here. I'm going to finish off the hem. This hem here, I kind of have my line, my crease here, so that should be simple to do. And then I have to work on the sleeve. I do think the sleeve is too long. I tried it on already, and now I know it's too long, so I'm gonna actually I'm thinking about maybe cutting it or just doing a wide hem just to kind of get this finished. So I'm gonna think about what I want to do, but that's my plan for tonight. Is to get this finished. Got my sewing machine still threaded, ready to go. I think I do need to change the settings. Yeah, I need to put the settings back. I know my baby lock, I think my baby lock comes with an option to lock in the settings from a previous project, so I'm gonna have to check that out. But I need to go back and reset my machine and get started. So that is my goal. One thing I noticed, and I'm not sure if maybe this was an oversight or it's just not included, but this requires, or doesn't require, but you can put buttons on here, but I didn't see a buttonhole guide in the pattern, so I'm not sure if that's something that I just overlooked or it's not there. But I do have a buttonhole gauge right here. So it's called expanding sewing gauge. So I'm gonna pull this out and use it potentially for my buttonholes. And I just realized on here that it might have something I can use to get my buttonholes measured out properly. I need to trying to see how to use that part, but yeah. So that's what I'm gonna be doing tonight. All right, working on the buttonholes, the hems, and then I'll be done. So let me go ahead and get started. Okay, so I took measurements and it looks like I want this to fall at the 4 3/8 mark. That's where I want my hem to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this at that stopping point, but I'm only going to mark it like a few times at that 4 3/8 stopping point, because I then need to make sure that I add a little extra for the hem allowance, right? So I am doing 4 3/8 all the way down. I'm marking it on here. You guys can't see it, but that's what I'm doing right now. I'm marking the 4 3/8 mark all the way down. Four 3/8 all the way down one. So if that's where I wanted to stop, but I want to do the allowance for the hem as well. So I think I'm going to measure maybe 2 inches. I'm going to measure down 2 inches. So I'm going to actually cut at the 2 inch. Okay, so I'm going to cut at the 2 inch. I hope that makes sense. And then that will give me a 1 inch. No, that's going to give me less than an inch. I'll show you guys when I'm done, what I'm doing here. I hope this is right. I don't like how this is turning out. I'm going to go and do a quick heat press to get these marks off and start over. All right, so we're going to think this through a little bit more. All right, y'all. So I want it to stop at the 4 3/8. All right, so I'm going to go back and do my marking at the 4 3/8 so that I'll know that's where I want it to stop. I like that stop. So I'm going to just do a quick marking down 4 3/8. Do you guys have a method for when you're trying to just decide on your allowance, when you're trying to shorten or lengthen? Like, what do you guys typically do? Do you have like a standard for all of your hems when you do your hem allowances? We have to make modifications. What's your process? Because I'm doing this now and I'm just kind of off the top of my head just trying to figure it out. All right, so I did 4 3/8, and then I am going to then mark. I'm going to mark the 3 inch. I'm going to mark at 3 inches from that line, and I will show you all what I did, because that will actually be my cutting point. Okay, so I'm going to cut at the 3. So I should probably write this down so I can remember what I'm doing for the other side. All right. Yeah, let me write that. All right, so I'm stopping at 4 3/8. I'm going to cut at, see, that's why I need to write stuff down, at 3 inch from the 4 3/8. All right, so if I cut that, I think it's still too big, y'all. I think it's still gonna be too long. I need to figure out where I need to cut to get this. Okay, so it took me some time to figure this part out, and I don't know why, but I ended up making my marking for how much or where I wanted my hem to actually stop, where I wanted the sleeve of the cardigan to stop. And this is the 4" and 3/8 mark. And then I decided I would add about an inch. I would have about an inch hem, and then I added 5/8 for the seam allowance. So I hope that that does me right when I'm ready to try this on, and that I didn't make a mistake in figuring out those measurements. But that's what I did. So I am going to go ahead and see how that works. All right, so hopefully you all can see that in the mirror, what that looks like. That's one sleeve, my right sleeve. I like where it sits. And then here is the second sleeve, and it sits at the same point. So I like that. Great, 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 great. I like it. I like it. I'm liking how it's coming together. So now I need to work on the buttons and the buttonholes. So yeah, let me see about that. But yes, I do like how this ended up. I'm going to show you guys the inside in a minute, because I need to take some of the excess hem off, the hem or the allowance rather. I need to take some of that off because it's a little bit extra there that I don't think I want. So yep. All right, so I told you guys I had to take some of the rest of the allowance off on the inside because I have that much. So it's sewn right here, and when I flip it on the inside I have all this. So I'm going to trim that off just to make it not so bulky, and then I'm going to press the hem around the arm and get myself prepared to work on the buttonholes and the button. Yeah, I might be able to get this done tonight. Let's see how this works out. All right, so I'm using my LDH scissors. I purchased these scissors. These were probably one of the first pairs of scissors I purchased when I started sewing. I think I purchased these and the Ginger scissors as my first pair. I don't use these a lot, but I wanted something where I could possibly do longer cuts and make it a little more cleaner. This does make me a little bit nervous because I don't want to accidentally cut onto the other side of the sleeve, so I'm trying to be very mindful and take my time with that. But I did go ahead and manage to get it cut. It's not the cleanest look, so again, that's something I gotta work on. But I got one sleeve done, so now I'm gonna see about the other sleeve. For some reason I didn't have as much on this one. I'll show you if you remember how much I showed you on the first one. I only have about that much, which isn't a lot, and I kind of don't even feel like I want to cut that off, but I think I am, because I'm seeing where other parts of this I do have a little bit more. So I am going to go ahead and turn this sleeve inside out and go ahead and start cutting this. But because I don't have as much allowance, I might use a smaller pair of scissors. Yeah, let me get a smaller pair. I think I'll just use these. You can see the difference, so. Let me go ahead and get this cut. So I don't know if I already asked this question or not, but what methods do you guys use when you are trying to work on your sleeves? When you know your sleeves are too long, you gotta cut. What's your standard for getting that done? Because I felt like I had to do a lot of thinking about the measurements and how much to add, and then with the seam allowance, and it was kind of stressing me. So what do you guys typically do to make sure that when you are adding an allowance and or taking away length from your sleeves, like what do you do? Because I need some tips. I need some really good tips, something I can do with just about any sleeve modification. Share it below. I definitely want to know that. I meant to set my timer tonight to see how long it took me to finish this out, but I didn't. All right, so I went ahead and cut them all down, and I managed not to cut the sleeve entirely, so yay to me. So now I'm gonna go over here and do a quick press and then get things started on, or get the process started for the what is it, y'all? Oh, the buttons in the buttonhole. So what I've done, I tried on the cardigan and I placed a pin at the location of where I want my button to be placed. So you see the pin there right at the very top. That's where I want my button, my first button, to be located on the cardigan. So what I'll do now is I'll take my measuring tape, measure from the very top shoulder seam, which is about right there, all the way down to where that stops, and it stops at about 11 and a half. So that's where I will do my buttonhole on the other side. That will be the location. 11 and a half inches down from the shoulder seam would be the approximate location. Well, no, it needs to be the exact location. You don't want approximate locations. It'll be the exact location for my buttonhole. I think that will work. And then I will use my gauge here to decide how wide I want my 3 buttons to be on here. So I am going to record or make note of that measurement here, and then I'm going to use my gauge to see the placement for the other 2 buttons, and then I will figure out how to use this here, this end of the gauge, in terms of the placement for the buttonhole. So that is what I plan to do. I'm actually going to test it first, test out a buttonhole using some scrap fabric before I attempt to do it on here, because I don't want to mess this up. I would hate to come this far in the process and then have a big issue with this here. So I'm gonna do some practice runs on my baby lock, making the buttonholes before I make it on here. had to walk in, didn't you? I can't even see you. It's too far down.
Hi guys.
Oh.
Wait, sweater or cardigan?
Cardigan. All right, sir. All right, y'all, so I have a headache. I am getting a little tired. I really do not want to put this off another day, but I am going to put it off another day. But you will see that footage in this video. There will not be another video where I am working on this because these are the last two things I need to get done, and it's no point. It's no point to keep dragging this out. But because I have to do buttonholes, and I've only done buttonholes one time on a different machine, I really want to make sure that I approach this with a clear head, a clear mind, and that way I'm not messing up and making little silly mistakes. So I did use my gauge here to figure out the placement for the buttons and buttonholes, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I really want to know how to use this properly, because I felt like, and you guys may have seen it in the footage where I was like fumbling and trying to figure out how to lay it on the placket, and how far does it expand, and it was a lot going on with this little thing here. So I want to figure out how to use this properly. I did get this from Amazon, and I forget when. I think it was something I purchased early in my sewing journey. I didn't really need it at the time, but it was inexpensive, and I was like, oh yeah, what a nice gadget to have for buttonholes. So now I have it, and I actually used it. So I never showed you guys the buttons I'm going to use, so I think I showed them in another video, but I'm going to be using these buttons here that I purchased from Hobby Lobby. I thought these were really, really pretty, really cute and dainty. So honestly, I probably could sew these on tonight, but I just don't feel up to it. So I'm not even gonna start it. So let me go ahead and show you all the placement and where I plan to pick up. If not tomorrow, I have a really busy day tomorrow, but we'll see if I can get the video, if I can find the video to properly show me how to do the buttonholes, and it's pretty straightforward, and I don't have too much of a problem working with my scrap fabric on my buttonholes. I probably will get this done tomorrow. I mean, I don't think it's going to take much, but let me show you all the placements. All right, so I just went ahead and put some pins on both sides with a little mark. That way I'll know exactly where I'm going to put the buttons on this side and the buttonholes on this side. And I need to also put my label in. I have to remember my labels. So I need to pull out my silver label and get that put in. But yeah, I think this can come together pretty easy tomorrow, provided I don't have issues with my scrap fabric. So let me go ahead and end this portion of the video, and stay tuned so you can see how this works out for me in terms of the buttons and the buttonhole. All right, oops, let me get my water bottle out the picture of the frame. So I am back, and it is 2 days later. 2 days later. I had every intent, as I stated, to come back last night after my day and try to get at least the buttons sewn on or something. But let me tell you guys, yesterday was just super, super busy for me, and I was tired. I was literally up running errands in the stores, dropping off, picking up, appointment here, appointment there, from the time the kids went to school until about 7 o'clock in the evening. So, and I think a lot of that had to do with traffic. Come on, come on. So the cat thinks it's time to play, and I'm not doing that right now. Yeah, so yesterday was a total, while it was very productive, I got a lot done. I did not come back to my room to get any of my sewing done, but I got everything done. I was extremely tired after I got in, and that's that. So here I am now, 2 days later. I'm ready to jump in and finish this cardigan once and for all. So I did not look for a video just yet on how to operate my baby lock in creating the buttonholes, but I do know there is one out there. I'm going to do a quick watch of that video, and I'm going to, as I said, use this as my practice. Oh gosh, this cat. As my practice piece, and hopefully that will be successful, and I can go ahead and get the buttonholes done on the cardigan, and then I can sit and get the buttons sewn on. I think I'm going to do the buttonholes first, just in case the alignment of the buttonhole itself does not line up exactly where the buttons are going to be placed. I think it'd be wise for me to do the holes first. That way I can make sure that wherever I sew the buttons on, they actually align with the hole. So I'm going to go ahead and look at a quick video. I'm going to go ahead and do a demo or a tester. I hope that works out. And then I'm going to go ahead and get them done on my cardigan and sew the buttons on, and then I will be finished. finished. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I did find a video. Move down a little bit. All right, so I did find a video, about 2 minutes long, and it says that I need to place my button in this groove here, because this is going to help do the measurement for the length of the buttonhole. However, because my button is round, it's not going to sit in here snug. It's going to roll out. It doesn't fit. It's going to roll around. So I'm going to go through my bag of buttons and look for one that is 3/4 inch in size, and I will use that here for my measurement. So I'm going to sit here and do that now. Need to find a flat one that measures about 3/4 of an inch. See what happens when I try to do something different. And I think I found one. Yep. Dug right in the bag and found one. So I have this white one here I'm going to use as my button for size purpose. And then I'm going to fit that in here snugly. All right. So I got that in. Got that in there. I think it's tight. Is that tight? Yeah, I think that's tight. It's shifting a little bit, but it's not coming out, so I think that's okay. All right. And now I am going to go to my machine and attach this foot, and I'm going to take off the regular presser foot and get everything set up. It also told me to be sure that the gray buttonhole lever is in between these two grooves here, because that will also help make sure that everything is measured properly and it works. So let me go ahead and try to get that set up now. All right. All right. Let me show you all what happened, what it did. It looked like it was doing well, and then all of a sudden I got this nesting knot here. It did not stop sewing, and one of the sides didn't even sew. So that means I need to stop and start this over. It also looks like the thread got lost, so my top stitch thread is not even threaded any longer. So I need to take this off, and I'm going to start over again. All right, y'all, so I rethreaded, and now I am going to, let me move this down just a little bit more. And now I'm going to start this over again. All right, I've got the automatic start and stop. I rethreaded. Bobbin looks good. Settings look good. Everything looks okay in the back. All right, now let's see what it does. Okay, did it again. It did it again. It doesn't like, something's going on. Okay. It did it again where it stopped right at the same spot again, and it did that knotting, that nesting. So let me try to figure this out. All right, so I figured out the trick through many attempts. It wasn't until it tried to go and do that second stitch going backwards on the machine or on the fabric where it started to do this nesting and bunching and knotting on every single attempt, and that was driving me crazy. I did not know why that was happening. Maybe because the fabric is so thin. I adjusted my tension to 1, and that didn't change anything. I thought about changing out the different type of buttonhole stitch, but I wanted to keep with number 60. It's just a basic square or basic rectangle. And what else did I do? Yeah, so what I end up doing is using a piece of interface, and that did the trick. So interface on the back is what's going to do the trick. Now, what I am not sure about is the placement of this buttonhole on my garment. So I did the placement for where it would nicely meet up with the button, but not in terms of like where it would start and stop. Like, you know how when you get a pattern, it'll have the button guide and it has the line where the pattern, the button should start and stop. It's like a uppercase I shape icon, I think it is. So I don't have that, so I need to create that, I think, as I move forward. So but I am glad to have this as a guide. At least I can use this as I create the markings on the placket. I'm just not sure I'm going to like how this interface is going to be looking on the inside of the buttonhole. Although, no, I was thinking maybe I didn't have to do interfacing, because there is an interface in between the plackets, the front and back, but it still might give me that knotting that I don't want. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a piece of interface around the buttonholes and see how that works. All right, y'all, so that was a lot of work, but what I did was just use the scrap piece that I've tested, and I use that as a guide for how I want to create my buttons, my buttonhole. I only took that, and I'll show you guys as soon as I can find it. Where did I put it? Oh shoot, I can't find it now. Oh, here it is. I literally just took this, folded over, and lined it up where I thought the buttonhole marking should be. And I'm using that as my guide. So it would look something like this, if you can kind of see that marking a little bit. Not sure if you can see it, but that's what I did. That's probably not the most professional way to get it done, but that's what I did to get this done, okay? All right, so now I need to make sure that I'm starting it. Oh shoot, I think I gotta move it over some, because I think it's gonna go that way. I think it's gonna start to my left and then move to the right. So let me move this over some where that mark is just there. All right, guys, let the action start. Woohoo! All right, y'all. The interface did the trick. Oh no. Oh no, but look at where it landed. It didn't start on the right spot. The placement is off still. So, I wanted it to be closer. All right, so let me just do this again. Oh, shoot. I thought it was going to start on the left of the marking and then go to the right, but it started on the right and went to the left. What in the world? Y'all. Alright, look, at least it's not nesting and stuff. Oh my gosh. Alright, I don't know. Okay. Buttonholes look great. Oh, okay. So I can actually cut this away. Okay. So I'm gonna probably cut this interface off. You see all this here? It didn't even stick well. So I'm gonna just cut that off. I just need enough to stabilize that spacing anyway. So I'm gonna just take that off. Cut it. Cut it. Cut that. Cut these little raw edges. Not raw edges, but these little loose threads. Open up the hole. Get rid of my original markings. All right, so let me go ahead and do that now. All right, y'all, so here is the buttonhole. The first one turned out really nice. 1, 2, and 3. I don't like this on the inside, but if it's buttoned up, no one's gonna see it. If it's open, it'll show if it like flaps a little bit. I don't really like that look, so I need to figure out because even if I'm working with like a much more delicate fabric, I want to make sure I'm able to give the garment like the cleanest finish I can, even from the inside. Like I need to know the proper settings, I guess, for doing buttonholes on your thin fabric so that the machine does well with the fabric. I adjusted the settings on the machine as I showed you all, but I want to figure out how to do buttonholes without having to use interface every time, because I know it can be done. All right, so I'll just trim some of that off, but yeah, that's how it looks on the inside. But from the outside, the buttonholes look great. I am going to go ahead and sit and sew on the decorative buttons, and then the next look you see will be me in the garment. All right. I absolutely love this fabric. It is so soft. It's almost like buttery soft. As I am wearing it, I just love the softness of it and how lightweight it is. I'm definitely going to make another one of these. I'll use a different type of fabric perhaps, but I do love this a lot, and I do think the buttons, they are a really nice look on this garment. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I'm so glad that I made it. I'm so glad that I finally got through with it, because this did take me a minute, not because it was hard, but because I sew slow and I took a couple of days off here and there. But yes, definitely something worth putting in your pattern collection to get sewn. Here's another view of the pants. Pardon the pile of fabric scraps on the floor there, but yeah, this is it. Thanks for watching.